Prologue. The iron grasp in the heart of the galaxy. The Galactic Council convened within the opulent spires of Zetharian, a planet-sized citadel orbiting the red giant Zeltharian. The councillors, tall, multi-limbed beings from a dozen species, exuded unassailable dominance. The Viridians, with their iridescent scales and telepathic tendrils, sat beside the hulking Tarkans, insectoids with mandibles that clicked in disdain. For 10,000 years, the Council had subjugated worlds, their fleets, crushing resistance with relentless precision. Their empire spanned 3,000 systems, each a testament to their might, their culture one of rigid hierarchy and unyielding control. Earth, once a backwater curiosity on the galaxy's edge, had evolved into a potential threat. Humanity's rapid, technological leaps, fusion drives, quantum computing, adaptive weaponry, and even early experiments with gravitic manipulation amused the Council's diplomats and strategists. To them, it was a fleeting novelty, another species to be added to their collection of conquered realms. They had dismantled more advanced civilizations, the Zentari Collective, the Cryon Ascendancy, leaving behind shattered worlds as warnings to others. When they decided Earth's independence posed a risk, the choice was swift. Demand tribute, resources, military surrender, and technological submission, or face annihilation. The logic was simple. Strip humanity of its autonomy to secure the Council's eternal rule. Resistance would invite overwhelming force, a tactic that had never failed. Their hubris, forged by countless triumphs, convinced them this ultimatum was a mere formality. Earth would kneel, as all others had. The message pulsed across the galaxy via subspace relays, a cold, unyielding demand. Humanity must surrender its fleets, innovations, and future, or be erased. The Council saw a win-win, submission, or a display of their power. But they misjudged, the silent resolve simmering on Earth, ignorant of a species forged in hardship, rebellion, and survival. Chapter 1. The Emperor's Burden Emperor. Darius Vorn stood in the war hall of Terra Nova, Earth's gleaming capital orbiting the homeworld. The chamber, a vast dome of reinforced transparasteel, offered a panoramic view of Earth below, its blue oceans and green continents a stark contrast to the cold void beyond. Holographic star charts lined the walls, their glowing lines mapping the galaxy's contested sectors. At 45, Darius was a figure of steel, scarred from a youth spent in the asteroid wars, his gray eyes piercing, his black hair streaked with premature silver. He had anticipated this day for decades, studying the Council's pattern. Every rising power faced demands, then violence. Humanity, with its history of defiance, against nature, invaders, and itself, would not bend. Darius's rise to emperor was a tale of grit and loss. Born on a mining colony in the Kuiper Belt, he was orphaned at 12 when the mantid swarm raided his home, glassing the surface with plasma fire. He survived by hiding in a maintenance shaft, emerging to find his family among the charred remains. The mantids, a hive-mind species, had underestimated humanity's resolve, and Darius joined the resistance at 15, piloting a patched-up fighter in the reclamation wars. His tactical brilliance, outmaneuvering mantid drones with guerrilla tactics, earned him a commission in the Terran Navy. By 30, he was a fleet admiral. By 35, he was crowned emperor after the last ruler fell to an assassin's blade. The War Council assembled around an obsidian table. Admiral Lysara, a tactical genius with a cybernetic eye that glowed faintly blue. General Kale Draven, a grizzled ground commander whose face bore scars from a dozen campaigns, and Dr. Ilara Voss, the Empire's chief scientist, her hands steady despite the weight of her discoveries. Their faces were calm, a stark contrast to the Council's expectation of panic. Darius activated the holotank, replaying the Council's ultimatum. A Viridian ambassador's voice, cold and telepathic, demanding Earth's surrender. They think we'll cower, Darius said, his voice a low growl. They've watched us build, but not how we've prepared. This is no surprise. Lysara nodded, her cybernetic eye scanning data feeds. Our intel confirms their pattern. Every species with potential, Zentari, Cryon, faced this. We've modeled their fleet movements, their weak points. They rely on intimidation, not adaptability. Their third fleet is their hammer. 500 dreadnoughts, 2,000 corvettes. But their command structure is rigid. Their ships outdated by our standards. Dr. Voss, a petite woman with a mind sharper than any blade, activated a hologram revealing the Terran Armada's hidden assets. Capital ships cloaked in asteroid fields, stealth fighters in lunar hangars, and a weapon codenamed Eclipse, a planet-destroying system developed in secret. We've been readying this for 15 years, she said, her voice steady. Not for conquest, but survival. The Eclipse uses gravitic compression and antimatter to collapse a planet's core. One shot, one world gone. Darius turned to the Council's message, its arrogance palpable. They demand our resources, our fleets, our future. They expect us to beg. But we are not a species that begs. Our past, revolts against the Mantids, the reclamation wars, proves we rise. We will not pay tribute. We will not surrender. Let them come. His words echoed through Terra Nova, broadcast to every colony, outpost, and soldier via encrypted channels. The Empire mobilized with silent precision. Shipyards on Mars and Titan hummed, deploying vessels the Council had never detected. The Armada, forged from centuries of war, was no plea for mercy. It was a declaration. Chapter 2. The Council's Blindness on Zetherian. Ambassador Clithera lounged in the Council's chamber, her iridescent scales shimmering under bioluminescent lights. Her telepathic tendrils curled with smug satisfaction as she addressed High Counselor Zenthak, a hulking Tarkin whose mandibles clicked in disdain. The chamber was a marvel of engineering. Its walls carved from crystal, its ceiling a holographic star map displaying the Council's dominion. The air hummed with the thoughts of a dozen counselors, their species bound by a shared arrogance. The humans will fold, Clithera said, her voice a melodic hum. They're primitives despite their toys. Their silence is fear. Zenthak's compound eyes glinted. Their advancements are intriguing. Fusion drives, quantum networks. They rival the Creon at their peak. But they lack the resolve to challenge us. Prepare the Third Fleet. If they resist, crush them. Clithera's tendrils pulsed in agreement. They'll beg for terms within. Decycle. Their worlds will fuel our expansion for centuries. The Council's history was one of conquest. The Zentari, a race of psionic engineers, had built Dyson spheres before the Council's fleets reduced their stars to cinders. The Cryon Ascendancy, masters of nanotechnology, had resisted for a century, until the Council unleashed bioweapons, turning their own nanites against them. Each victory reinforced the Council's belief in its invincibility. They had grown soft, relying on reputation rather than readiness. Their fleets maintained more for show than combat. Their intelligence network, once sharp, had dulled, focused on suppressing dissent rather than scouting threats. Earth's silence, far from weakness, was a calculated move. In shadowed cities on Europa and Ganymede, the Terran Empire fortified. Capital ships like the Eternal Dawn emerged from cloaks, their hulls shimmering with adaptive armor that absorbed energy weapons. Stealth fighters, piloted by AI-human hybrids, drilled in asteroid belts, their plasma blades capable of slicing through dreadnought hulls. The Eclipse weapon, a fusion of gravitic and antimatter tech, sat in a lunar vault beneath Mare Tranquillitatis, its activation codes known only to Darius. Lysara oversaw the fleet's assembly from the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, her cybernetic, eye-scanning real-time data. Their third fleet is en route, she reported to Darius via secure comms. They expect us to scatter. We'll hit their command nodes first, disable their coordination, then strike their infrastructure. Draven, stationed on Earth's surface, grinned through a scarred face. Ground forces are ready. Orbital defenses are live. EMP mines. Exosuits, railgun batteries. If they land, they'll face hell. Darius addressed the people again, his voice unshaken, broadcast from Terra Nova's central plaza. They think our silence is surrender. It's preparation. We fight for our families, our world, our future. The storm is coming. The council, ensconced in luxury, misread the quiet. Their scouts reported no fleet movements, reinforcing their delusion. But beneath the surface, humanity's resolve hardened, a force the galaxy had never faced. Chapter 3. The Terran Forge on Mars. In the shadow of Olympus Mons, the Hephaestus shipyards roared with activity. The facility, a sprawling network of underground foundries and orbital docks, had been humanity's industrial heart for a century. Here, the Terran Armada was born, not in desperation, but with cold, calculated intent. The shipyards were a marvel of automation and human ingenuity. Robotic arms the size of skyscrapers welded hulls of adaptive nanosteel, while engineers in exosuits fine-tuned quantum reactors. The air thrummed with the hum of fusion cores, the glow of plasma torches casting long shadows. Commander Elena Cade, a wiry woman with a mechanical arm, oversaw the final assembly of the Eternal Dawn. She had lost her arm in the reclamation wars, a plasma burn from a mantid drone, but the prosthetic gave her strength beyond human limits. All systems green, she reported to Lysera via holocom. The Dawn's gravitic cannons are calibrated, capable of warping a dreadnought's hull at 50,000 kilometers. Lysara's voice crackled through. Good. We need every edge. The Council's third fleet outnumbers us 3-1. Elena nodded, her jaw tight. They've got numbers. We've got tech. And will. Across the solar system, similar scenes unfolded. On Titan, methane lakes reflected the glow of orbital docks assembling stealth fighters. These craft, codenamed Spectres, were piloted by neural-linked AI-human hybrids, pilots whose minds merged with their ships, achieving reaction times no organic could match. In the asteroid belt, mining rigs doubled as weapon platforms, their mass drivers repurposed to fire kinetic slugs at relativistic speeds. Dr. Alara Voss worked in a fortified lab beneath Luna's surface, her team perfecting the Eclipse weapon. The device was a nightmare of physics, a gravitic compressor that collapsed a planet's core into a micro-singularity, followed by an antimatter cascade that vaporized the remains. Ilara, a woman in her 50s with graying hair and a perpetual frown, had spent decades on the project. It's ready, she told Darius during a secure briefing. But it's a last resort. One misfire, and we could lose Luna. Darius's face was grim. Understood. We use it only if they push us to the brink. The Terran Empire's civilians, too, prepared. On Earth, cities like New Shanghai and Nova York fortified their shields, citizens drilling with plasma rifles, in case of invasion. Children in schools learned evacuation protocols, while factories churned out drones and munitions. Humanity's history, surviving ice ages, world wars, alien invasions, had taught them resilience. They would not break. Chapter 4. The Council's Delusion. Back on Zetherian, the Council's chamber buzzed with self-assured chatter. Clythera met with her intelligence chief, a Viridian named Silthar, whose tendrils quivered with unease. No, activity from Earth, Silthar reported. Their fleets are dormant, their colonies silent, they're terrified. Clythera's scales shimmered with amusement. As expected, they know resistance is futile. The third fleet will arrive in 3 cycles. They'll surrender or burn. Zilthar hesitated, his thoughts tinged with doubt. We thought the same of the Cryon. They held out for a century. These humans, their history is one of defiance. The Mantid glassed their colonies, yet they rebuilt. What if they fight? Clythera dismissed him with a wave. The Cryon were a fluke. These primates lack their cohesion. They'll fracture under pressure. Zenthak meanwhile met with Admiral Korath, commander of the Third Fleet. Korath, a Tarkin with a carapace scarred from 100 battles, exuded confidence. "My fleet is ready," he growled. 500 dreadnoughts, 2,000 corvettes, 10,000 drones. We'll crush their system in a day. Zenthak's mandibles clicked. Good. Their silence is weakness. Strike hard, strike fast. Leave no survivors. The Council's arrogance blinded them to their vulnerabilities. Their fleet, while vast, relied on outdated tech, energy weapons that hadn't evolved in centuries, shields that couldn't adapt to kinetic impacts. Their command structure was rigid, with admirals chosen for loyalty, not competence. Their intelligence network, once the galaxy's finest, had atrophied, focused on internal dissent rather than external threats. They had no spies in Terran space, no inkling of the Armada's true strength. Chapter 5. The storm breaks. The Galactic Council's Third Fleet entered Sol's outer system, dropping from hyperspace near the Kuiper Belt. The Armada glittered in the void, dreadnoughts the size of small moons, their crimson hulls adorned with gold insignias. Corvettes swarming like insects, drones forming a defensive screen. Admiral Korath stood on the bridge of his flagship, Dominion's Wrath, sneering at the empty space. "No resistance," he growled. "They're broken already." Then the silence shattered. The Eternal Dawn decloaked 50,000 kilometers away, its adaptive armor shimmering as it absorbed the faint light of Sul. Railguns fired, kinetic rounds accelerating to relativistic speeds, punching through a dreadnought's shields and hull. The ship erupted in a cascade of plasma and debris, its fusion core overloading. Stealth fighters swarmed from the asteroid belt, their plasma blades slicing through corvettes, leaving trails of molten metal. The Terran Armada emerged, 1,000 ships, each a pinnacle of human engineering, unleashing a barrage of missiles and gravitic beams that warped the hulls of Council ships, crumpling them like foil. Korath roared orders, his mandibles clicking. In fury, "Return fire! Deploy drones!" But his fleet faltered. The Terran missiles, guided by quantum AI, split mid-flight, each releasing a dozen sub-munitions that targeted shield generators. Gravitic beams followed, collapsing entire sections of dreadnoughts. The Eclipse weapon, held in reserve, was activated on Darius's orders. A pulse of dark energy enveloped a Council outpost moon in the Kuiper Belt. The satellite's core collapsed into a micro-singularity, its matter vaporized in an antimatter cascade. The explosion sent a shockwave through the fleet, disabling sensors and sowing panic. On Earth, General Draven's ground forces repelled landing parties. Council dropships, expecting minimal resistance, were met with EMP mines that fried their systems, leaving them stranded. Exosuit-clad soldiers, armed with railguns and plasma lances, cut through Tarkin infantry, their carapaces no match for human firepower. Orbital batteries fired, kinetic slugs raining down on Council troop carriers, turning them to slag before they could deploy. Lysara's fleet pressed the advantage, striking Council infrastructure in the outer systems. Viridia, a lush world of crystal oceans, fell in hours, its shipyards reduced to rubble by gravitic cannons. Tarkin Prime, the insectoid's industrial hub, collapsed under a swarm of self-replicating drones that devoured its factories, turning them into raw materials for more drones. The Council's outer defenses crumbled, their rigid tactics no match for Terran adaptability. Clithera's scales paled as reports flooded into Zetherian's chamber. "Whole fleets destroyed. Planets gone in seconds," she gasped, her telepathic voice trembling. Zenthak's compound eyes widened, his mandibles trembling. "This can't be. They're primitives." Chapter 6. The Elite Strike Commander. Terran Holt led the Terran Elite Squadron, codenamed Spectre Wing, deeper into Council space. Terran, a 32-year-old prodigy with a neural implant enhancing her reflexes, piloted her stealth fighter with precision. Her squadron, 50 pilots, each a veteran of the Reclamation Wars, spearheaded strikes on key targets. Their ships, equipped with plasma blades and quantum disruptors, were invisible to Council sensors until they struck. Their first target was the Viridian Relay Hub on Thalara, a moon orbiting a gas giant. The hub coordinated Council communications across a dozen sectors. Terran's squadron decloaked at point-blank range, their disruptors firing beams that unraveled molecular bonds, turning the hub's relays to dust. Council drones scrambled to spawned, but the Spectres were gone before they could lock on, cloaking and jumping to their next target. The second strike hit Tarkin Prime's energy grid. Terran's wingmen deployed nanite swarms, microscopic machines that infiltrated the grid's reactors, overloading them. The resulting explosions lit the planet's atmosphere, a fiery glow visible from orbit. With each strike, the Council's hold weakened, their infrastructure collapsing under surgical precision. On Zytherian, the Council's leadership descended into chaos. Clithera pleaded for retreat, her tendrils quivering. "We must evacuate, they're unstoppable." Zenthak slammed a claw on the crystal table, cracking it. "We are invincible. Deploy the Fourth Fleet, crush them." But the Fourth Fleet, stationed near Zelthar, never arrived. Spectre Wing intercepted it mid-jump, using gravitic mines to destabilize their hyperspace conduits. The fleet emerged in real space as a cloud of debris, its 300 ships torn apart by spatial distortions. The Council's outer systems fell one by one, their worlds unable to withstand Terran firepower. Chapter 7. The Core Worlds. Burn the Council's core worlds. Zytherian, Zelthar, and Klyon, once untouchable, now faced annihilation. The Terran. Fleet unrelenting closed in. The Eternal Dawn led the assault on Zytherian, its gravitic cannons reducing crystal spires to rubble. Civilian evacuations were chaotic. Viridian transports overloaded. Tarkin drones turning on their masters in a desperate bid for survival. Lysera's voice crackled over the comms. "Their defenses are down. Eclipse is live." Darius hesitated, then nodded. "Do it." The Eclipse weapon fired, a pulse of dark energy enveloping Zelthar's orbital defenses. The planet's moons collapsed into micro-singularities, their debris forming a deadly ring. Zelthar itself survived, but its infrastructure was crippled, its atmosphere ignited by antimatter fallout. Klyon fell to a coordinated strike, its energy grid collapsing under Terran disruptors. Nanite swarms devoured its factories, turning them into ash. On Zytherian, the Council's chamber shook as the Eternal Dawn's cannons fired. Clithera fled to a shuttle, her telepathic screams echoing through the halls. Zenthak remained, defiant. To the end, until a kinetic slug obliterated the chamber. His carapace vaporized in the blast. The Council's leadership, paralyzed by terror, scrambled for survival. Scouts reported dread spreading across conquered worlds. Once insignificant, now symbols of humanity's wrath. Desperation fueled futile counterattacks. Council remnants launched suicide runs, their ships kamikazing into Terran shields. But the Terran Empire's momentum was unstoppable. Darius stood on the Eternal Dawn's bridge, watching Zytherians fall through the viewport. The planet's surface burned, its once mighty spires reduced to slag. "Their arrogance brought this," he said to Lysera. "We don't kneel." Chapter. During a galaxy transformed, the dust settled. Council remnants scattered across the galaxy. The Terran Empire emerged as a galactic power, its resolve a warning to all. Darius addressed the galaxy from Terra Nova, his voice broadcast via subspace. "Relays, we fought for survival, not dominance. Let this be a lesson. Humanity bows to no one. We seek peace, but we will defend our future with all we have." On Earth, celebrations erupted. New Shanghai's streets filled with citizens waving Terrani banners, blue and white, the colors of Earth's oceans and skies. Nova York's orbital spires lit up with holographic displays of the Eternal Dawn's victory. But the cost was heavy. Millions dead, colonies scarred by Council raids before their fall. Darius honored the fallen, erecting a monument on Luna, a towering obelisk inscribed with the names of every soldier lost. In the ruins of Zetherian, Clythera stood amid the wreckage, her scales dulled by ash. She had escaped the planet's destruction, but her empire was gone. Staring at the sky, she felt awe replace her arrogance. The Council, a millennia-old power, had been undone by the storm it summoned. Humanity. The galaxy shifted in the war's aftermath. Species once subjugated by the Council, the Zentari remnants, the Cryon diaspora, sent envoys to Earth, seeking alliances. The Terran Empire, cautious but open, established the Galactic Concord, a coalition to ensure no single power could dominate as the Council had. New powers rose in the void, pirate fleets in the Outer Rim, rogue AI enclaves in dead systems, but none dared challenge Terra. Dr. Voss deactivated the Eclipse, sealing it in a vault beneath Luna. "We won't need it again," she told Darius. "Not unless they forget." Lysera, promoted to Grand Admiral, oversaw the rebuilding of the Armada, incorporating Council tech salvaged from Zetherion. Draven led ground forces in pacifying Council holdouts, ensuring no remnants could regroup. Commander Terran Holt, hailed as a hero, trained the next generation of pilots, her neural implant a symbol of Terran innovation. Epilogue. The legacy year later, Darius stood on Earth's surface, in a field outside Nova York. The sky was clear, Sol's light warm on his face. Beside him stood his daughter, Alara, named after Dr. Voss, a child born during the war, a symbol of the future they'd fought for. "Will they come again?" Alara asked, her voice small. Darius knelt, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Maybe. But we'll be ready. We always are." In the galaxy beyond, the Terran Empire thrived, its banner a beacon of resilience. The Council's fall marked a new era, one where humanity's voice echoed loudest, a reminder that even the mightiest could fall to those who refused to kneel.